What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name is Bernie. Thank you for joining us today on the Touchdowns to Home Run show. I hope that your day is going absolutely fantastic. Today, we got a really good one. We're going to be doing a preview and prediction of the upcoming Big Ten championship game between the Northwestern Wildcats and the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, this, is in the making for a really, really good matchup and a really interesting one as well. On one side, you have Ohio State, one of, if not the most talented teams in the country, with, one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Justin Fields. And then you have a Northwestern team who, essentially came out of nowhere. They were brutal last year in the Big Ten, but they've had a fantastic season this year, one of the best defenses in the country. They've been ranked for the majority of the year and even snuck up as high as, I think it's 8 in the AP polls. This is a really interesting matchup to see where both teams are at. I'm curious to see what the Northwestern can do against this electric Ohio State offense. Before we get, too far into it, though, I do just want to point out that Ohio State did just get a little bit lucky getting granted that eligibility for the Big Ten championship game. Obviously, my Michigan Wolverines canceled the big game that was supposed to be played on Saturday. So a little luck there for Ohio State. We'll get to the box scores of each team's previous games in just a second, but first, let's break down this all-time series between these two teams, which Ohio State leads with a dominating record of 63-14. They come into this game on an 8-game win streak against Northwestern, dating back to 2005. Now, these two teams did play in 2019. Again, Ohio State absolutely dominated it. Score of 52-3. Northwestern did not score after a field goal in the first quarter. But again, completely different Northwestern team this year who's playing some very, very good football and who throughout the course of the season, has one of the best defenses in the country. So, not saying that Northwestern's going to win this game, but I'm very curious to see what happens because I do think Northwestern might be able to cause some problems for the Buckeyes. Let's take a look at the Buckeyes first. The Buckeyes come into this game with the 5-0 record. Their game against Michigan was canceled, which means their last game was against the Michigan State Spartans, who they beat by a score of 52-12. Now, what I really liked about this game from the Buckeyes was particularly Justin Fields. This was an Ohio State team who was missing a bunch of guys. And this is a Justin Fields who is coming off 3 interceptions in their previous game against the Indiana Hoosiers. Before that game, Justin Fields had only thrown 3 interceptions ever in his career and matched that in one game prior to this Michigan State game. So I was really curious to see, what Justin Fields would do in his first ever hurdle, I guess, and see what it would do to him mentally, especially with the players out. But he played really well. 17 for 24, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, which was very key. And again, I don't think anybody was doubting it. Justin Fields is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the country. He's one of the most talented players overall in college football, and I think he's going to have a very successful NFL career when it does come to that. The Ohio State rushing game is pretty good. Sermon, Fields, they have a bunch of guys who can run the football. They ran for 322 yards against Michigan State on 48 carries. Again, Fields is a threat in the air. But don't forget about that Ohio State running game and that, that balanced offense. Again, let's see what Northwestern can do. Let's see if that defense really is legit. In terms of receiving, Ohio State is very talented, led by Chris Olave. In their last game, 10 receptions, 139 yards. The secondary is going to have to be paying attention to mainly him, but then again, you've got to worry about guys like Garrett Wilson. And, this is overall a very, very talented passing offense. You saw what they did against Michigan State. You've seen what they've done not only this season, but in past years as well. So we'll see what happens. The Ohio State defense was really, really good against Michigan State. You talk mainly about their offense, but this is an extremely, extremely talented defense who didn't even have everybody for this game against Michigan State. But talk about forcing 4 turnovers, keeping Michigan State to 3 of 17 on third downs. Northwestern has their hands full with the Northwestern offense that, has struggled for the majority of the season. And for a team that was ranked as high as 8 this year, their offense has not played well. And again, it really, really is their defense. Let's move on to the Northwestern Wildcats, who come into this game with the record of 6-1 after their 28-10 win over Illinois. Now, this was a very, very impressive game from Northwestern in many aspects, but let's start with that defense because, this Wildcats defense is very, very hyped up, and for good reason, because at the end of the day, they're one of the best defenses in not only the Big Ten, but really the entire country. And this is really the backbone of the team. Obviously held Illinois to only 10 points in their last game, no turnovers, but held Illinois to 3 for 12 on third down, only a touchdown after the first quarter. And this is a defense that can really, really lock in. And for an offense that has struggled to put up, 20 plus points a week, for Northwestern to be 6-1, again, all credit to how fantastic this defense has been in Big Ten play. In terms of their offense, this is where, I'm a little more nervous for the Ohio State game. We look at this Illinois game, Peyton Ramsey, 7 for 12, 82 yards, 1 touchdown, no interception. And Northwestern's had a lot of struggles all year getting their offense going throughout the air. And I think, again, this is an Ohio State defense that's coming in with some momentum. And for a Northwestern offense that's looking a little one-dimensional with their running game, there could be some serious threats. The running game was absolutely fantastic against Illinois. Evan Hull, 13 carries, 149 yards, and a touchdown. Cam Porter, 24 carries, 142 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Overall, 411 yards on the ground by Northwestern. This is a run game that played fantastic against Illinois and has sort of stepped up, when the passing game hasn't been able to get going. And this is also one area in particular I was looking for them to bounce back this week because, in their previous game, which was a loss against Michigan State, their offensive line got absolutely dominated. But really, really positive signs going into this Big Ten championship game that their offensive line figured it out against this Illinois team. In terms of receiving, it was McGowan who led the way, 4 receptions, 72 yards. Again, didn't go to the air that much, only the 7 receptions through the air. But again, really, really positive signs that Northwestern's offensive line sort of figured it out in a way that they were able to run the football for this game. In terms of rushing, Drake Anderson led the way. He had 10 carries, 41 yards. Isaiah Bowser was also in there, 9 carries, 28 yards. But Northwestern really, really struggled to run the ball as a team. 37 carries, 63 total yards. And I actually did watch this game. And again, Northwestern really, really struggled on the ground. And that's not a good sign because Michigan State, their line has struggled really for all year. But they looked really good against this Northwestern line. And that's a big, big issue when you're playing a very talented team like Ohio State. And again, a defense that has momentum. In terms of receiving, Riley Lees led the way, 4 receptions, 59 yards. Again, Northwestern had trouble getting it going in the air. They really have all year. But I think they'll need to figure some of that out, come next weekend. The Northwestern, again, 4 turnovers. They only forced 1 turnover, but again, only allowed 29 points. This Northwestern defense is legit. Michigan State has probably played the best against this defense so far this season, and Northwestern even almost made a comeback in this game. I'm really, really curious. Don't let this Michigan State game necessarily be a telltale that they're going to be bad against the Buckeyes in the championship game. Quickly, before we end the video, let's just look at the betting lines now. Ohio State, at the time that I'm filming this video, is a minus 20.5 on the spread. Still over a week at the time that I'm filming this video until we get to the game, so lots of time for the lines to fluctuate. But I think what's really interesting about this line is if the Northwestern defense is able to create some turnovers and confuse Justin Fields, we saw it happen against Indiana, I think that this game could potentially be low scoring. Or low scoring enough, that Ohio State can't cover the 20.5. What concerns me about the spread is Northwestern's inability to score. I don't see them scoring anywhere near or anywhere north of like 25-ish points. I think they'll be sitting right around where they've been all year. About 3 touchdowns. So for me, it comes down to, can Northwestern confuse Justin Fields enough that Ohio State can't pull away by 3 touchdowns? In my opinion, I say yes. They've played one really bad half of football, which was that first half against Michigan State. If not, they would be coming into this game with a 6-0 record. So I like Northwestern on the plus 20.5, but I would definitely wait to see how the line fluctuates throughout the week before betting on this one. Anyways, guys, if you did make it to this point in the video, thank you. Let me know your thoughts, your predictions on the Big Ten Championship game down in the comment section below. If you liked today's video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs for more previews just like this. We do previews for college football and the NFL during the week, as well as post-game shows for college football and the NFL on Saturday and Sunday, respectively. So if this is some type of content that you like, definitely make sure to stick around on the channel so that you don't miss out on those. But again, if you guys did make it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys again next time.